Welcome back. You came here not to get yelled at, but perhaps maybe to wake up the parts of you that are sleeping. Today I wanted to wake you up to something that's still currently existing in your life. Fear. It's running your system. It's controlling your every decision. And it's never given you a chance to see who you are, what you're made for, and why you're here. My life wasn't a love letter, put it that way. For a long time it was a message of self-hate for all of the things that I am not and what I haven't done and who I am never going to be. It was a life of despair. And you're probably like, well, how could that happen? Well, very simple, Nobody to talk to about these things will do it. Being given the wrong frame of life, being put on a conveyor belt, where you've never been given an opportunity to ask yourself the most valuable question. Why? It set me free. Why am I training? Why do I hang out with these people? Why do I do these things? Why do I say those things? And for some of us, we might feel like that might be a little neurotic. To ask too many questions might just make you feel like you're losing control. Well, I think that's the whole point. There's a certain point where in your journey, you will start learning faith. So I want to share a few stories, something to give you an insight on this. I want to ask you a question first before we start. What really runs your system? Is it love or is it fear? Now, if you're watching this, I guarantee you it's fear. And now, I want to spiral that in this video. I want you to actually feel it and experience it. I want you to question what you are running from. I want you to question the integrity of your life, and perhaps the things that you should be really scared of are not just in this lifetime. Maybe they don't even just exist when you're awake, they exist in your dreams. Maybe the things that you're really afraid of are the parts of you that you have left unintegrated, unattended, neglected, and they're coming for you. And death might be the salvation of all, which is like, wow, that'd be great if I can have an early death. I won't have to deal with all of these things, like integrate all the parts of me that are still out on the loose. What really changed my life is being able to ask myself a question. Do I just run from myself in a circle? Is that my life? And think of it this way, there's 3 levels of understanding. Level 1, you're running from your past experiences and things that have hurt you in a circle. Number 2, you're running from still those same fears, but directed towards an ideal. Meaning, I want to make money. I want to have a 6-pack. I want to marry this beautiful woman and have children, Those are all the ideals that will set you free. Perhaps maybe I want a connection to God, or I want to have a better understanding of myself. These are all going to be ideals. And the last one is, when you're no longer running from fears, traumas, and insecurities, you're realizing that that's everything that you are, and now you don't need to run when you experience the ideal, because the ideal was here all along. All of those that accept love will be transformed on the journey of it. My love journey is very similar to this, this movie that comes to mind. It's something I watched recently and it changed my life. The movie Apocalypto. If you've ever seen it, it's directed by Mel Gibson. It's an absolute masterpiece. But I want to be able to describe this movie to you, just so that you can understand that a majority of people's lives are fueled by fear and they're still running from things that they've never faced. So let's take that framework that we had and I'll go into the story. First, you're running from things that you're afraid of in a bubble. Talk about the meaninglessness of your existence. It's just completely fear-driven. No development. Then it's running away from the things that you're afraid of towards something that you desire. Then it's making a decision what you run towards faster. Meaning, what drives you more? Is it the fear of this tiger chasing you? Or is it the passion and the absolute fulfillment that you could experience through having the ideal? Well, that's another form of self-discovery. And then the last one is realizing what you are running from is what is the parts of you that you are afraid of facing that allow you to experience the ideal and in fact achieve it. And those are the parts of you that you need in order to achieve what you are here and born to do. And that's going to be in your desires. So the movie's very interesting. It really talks about fear. Fear of what? Fear of death. And that's what runs all of us. At the end of the day, as a human being, whether you like it or not, everything that you've done up to this point has been a product of cause and effect until you started incorporating awareness into your life, realizing that that's not all that runs it. A godless life is one where cause and effect controls it throughout the course of your life. One where you're truly driven by something is when fear is not driving it, but love is. So often, we think about it, am I running from a tiger or am I running to an ideal? Well, what if the tiger is you after you make a choice to run to the ideal? So there's many dimensions to this. And so how could you say your life has love in it if you've never made a choice? It's not really love. And I was talking about this with a girl in the lecture today, and she was telling me, hey, I love the people that I'm with so much. I'm like a martyr for them. There's nothing I wouldn't do. And I said, whoa, hold that. That's not love. You've done that for how many guys? 5? What? Something's telling me you're not aware of your own value. And in fact, maybe you're hiding behind the guises of virtue and you've never actually seen who you are. You don't even know what love is. Maybe you're afraid of that. Maybe you've never had it. Before I go into the story, I want you to remember this, that the journey of love is where you pick up the fragments of it and you allow it to become embodied in who you are. And then you realize what really love is not how it started, the beautiful girl you met in the farm. It's going to be who you become on the journey of coming back to that. And all of those who are going to go on the journey of love will be transformed by love. And I want you to think of love this way. Love are the decisions that you make for yourself that make you become the man that you dream of becoming, that make you become the woman that you dream of becoming. And ultimately, I think that that's really what fulfills us, and that what really allows our love to be meaningful is it's personally transformative. A good relationship versus a one. Well, I could tell you a one is where people use each other until there's nothing to use. A good one is where the process of interacting with that person is deeply challenging, fulfilling, and simultaneously playful. And you're existing at all of these dimensions. And it's very challenging because it brings up all these parts of you that require you to transform in the face of that person. It's like an externalized personal development process with a partner. You're free with them. So the movie starts. Young hunters, Mayans before the Spanish Inquisition. And the young hunters, clearly experiencing their humanity, and there's something very beautiful about the film that really gets to show you the aspect of humanity that we all have, no matter how much or how high we build ourselves, we all have this. And they come across other tribes as they finish their hunt. And the hero, Jaguar, looks into the eyes of the other tribe, and what does he see? He sees fear. And the father looks at the son and he goes, hey, it's got to your head. As they're walking back with their tapirs on their shoulders. Tapir is a fancy cow, I guess. South American cow. And he goes, son, what is this in your eyes? I want you to know something. They were infected by fear. You don't need to be. The willingness to face that is what allows you to be one step ahead of the infection of fear. So there's almost like the openness of life that is required from us is that we need to be able to open up to that so that we can almost interact with ourselves and who we are in the face of that fear. It's a great opportunity to see if you're a coward or not. So the father puts his hand on the son's shoulder and he tells him, don't be afraid. Later that night he has a dream. In that dream he sees the tribal member that introduced himself to him, and he realized the fear that was struck in his eyes. He gets up and he hears a dog barking. There's another tribe, I could say the antagonizing tribe, the tribe of people that don't live for things like family and the protection of it. People without values, unintegrated. They lack their humanity. In fact, they lack it so much they conquer others and they sell them. So this other tribe of Mayans comes in and they completely abolish the village. They capture everyone. Before he gets captured, he's able to let down his wife and kid into this dark hole. And of course, that's going to be part of more of the symbolism, what's required. And as he lets them down, he's clearly a strong warrior. And he has this altercation where he goes to save his father, but his father's last words to him were, don't be afraid. He's now bonded and strapped and taken out into the unknown of the civilized world, or apparently the uncivilized Mayan culture at the time. It all circulates around human sacrifice. As he's being brought on this journey, and all that's on his mind is this wrenching pain of, oh my God, my wife, my unborn child with my newborn child are in a pit, and I can't help them. And this whole time you're watching the movie and you're looking at them and you're like, at what point will Jaguar do something? And there's a certain point where even eventually he's taken up to the altar to be sacrificed to the gods, and he's not fighting back. And as the viewers, we're like, what is it going to be for him to act? And isn't that what love is about? It's this resilience, this process by which we're like, oh, those people, I love them so much. And there's something so powerful about the film, and it shows you that if he wasn't willing to be transformed by the journey that coming back to his love would require, then he will never be anyone. In fact, he'll die there on the altar. And in those moments of him thinking about his wife and his kids, his final moments, an eclipse happens, an interruption, a divine intervention. And by the way, as individuals, you have to be open to that. It's going to set you free. It's going to make you realize that, you're not just living in a system surrounded by others, another head in the crowd, an empty person. You're existing in your own story, and it requires attention and care. And that's somebody that loves would do. They would show up for their life. And so this eclipse happens. He's taken off of the altar, and he's walked out into his final hours, or what you would think would be. And I'll just call them this way, the evil opposing tribe. I would even say the the vicious cannibalistic tribe. Better terminology. They line them up and they say, hey, go run back into your forest. But of course, it's a game to play with their food. And the hero Jaguar runs off and they're shooting bows and arrows at him. But you can see, even as you're watching it, you're like, where is this guy's strength? We could see it, and it's really beautiful about how Mel Gibson's such a professional at what he does. He keeps running and he gets an arrow through the right rib. With that arrow through the right rib, he pulls it out and he continues to run through the cornfield back into his forest. So now you're thinking about this from the viewer's point of view, and actually the story of our life, which is, you are going to be taken so far away from the love that you desire most. And in that process, you're going to be afraid. Because you're really going to know what matters most once you wake up. But sometimes you wake up under the worst circumstances. But in order to come back to that love, you need to be willing to go on a journey of it. And so, for example, he runs out into the forest. He's wounded. He's gasped. He's out of breath. And he's running away from these vicious cannibalistic Indians that are coming to go kill him because he killed their firstborn son in survival for his own life. And as he's running, he runs up a tree. He thinks he's safe. He relaxes. He's able to finally hold it. Just a moment of rest. And that's what we all think the journey of love is. It's going to be a moment where you can sit on your ass. Actually, the opposite answer is true. You can't. The journey of love requires a constant analysis and interaction with your own nature and the parts of yourself that you love to really be somebody who does love. And as he's on the tree, he's laying down. And of course, what does he face? A black jaguar. And of course, you see the fear in his eyes. Quickly runs down the tree. He's running from the jaguar at full speed. He runs so far he gets to the bridge. It gets to the lip of a waterfall. He looks behind him, and what does he see? Well, he sees the vicious cannibals running after him. He looks down. He makes a jump. A leap of faith. In that leap of faith, it's almost like he finds himself. He's back in the forest, and what does he say back to them? He goes, this is my forest. This is part of who I am. My kids will hunt here. Who's hunted now? And so I want to show you a little bit of the psychological aspects of the storytelling there, which is when running for his life, from the parts of himself that are just like him, driven by fear, hate, and an internal emptiness in relationship to life. They don't have love. One of the lines that one of the tribe members said that was chasing him, it was, he runs off fear. I don't care about the black leopard, although that's a bad omen. He's afraid. But as the viewers, what do we see? No, he's in love. And that's what makes him run. Of course, what happens when you climb up a tree as you're running for your life? You face the part of you, and that's exactly what the black jaguar symbolizes. His name is Jaguar. What did he run into when he was running? Himself. Now, once you face yourself, that's going to be the aspect of your shadow that's going to be manifested in this cat, this big monster, this jaguar. You have to take a leap of faith in understanding that this is exactly who you're supposed to be. And of course, the leap of faith is the action that you take in understanding that that's who you are and that you will no longer run. So the next part of the scene, he immerses himself into the swamp, completely coming out black, integrated with it, no longer running from it. And so now the perspective changes. Was he running? Whose territory are they in now? When in this process of him running from perhaps maybe you could even say his fears, his traumas, and insecurities, have allowed him to find who he is, his strength. The jaguar was the part of him. It was a reminder of his name. You know what happens to people when they run their whole life? They have no association to who they are. How could they? Their name means nothing. But what happens once you take a leap of faith after you face yourself by running from things that you thought were more dangerous than you? That's the lie. And you realize, whoa, hold a second. I'm the black jaguar. And you take that leap of faith. Leap of faith in what? In an understanding that perhaps maybe you're not hunted. Maybe your whole life, those things that were hunting you, like the cannibalistic tribe, were exactly everything that you needed to interact with in order to set yourself free and find what you're capable of. So this is a very big thing for men. Men will not feel deserving of love if they don't go on a journey to find themselves. Meaning that men's love is boys' love until they become men in understanding what they would do for love, what they would do outside of themselves. That leap of faith, that submersion into the black swamp, and then who's really hunted now? Was he being hunted, or were they being hunted by him? Now here's the thing about this, and I want to show you how this is exactly how the hero Jaguar, who was able to now come to this part of himself and realize this is who he is, he faced this part of him and he had this strength. This strength what? This strength to pull
his wife, and now his 2 children out of the hole. And so ultimately, he wasn't strong enough then, but also partially not aware of how valuable his love is. And this is for men. They have to go on this journey to understand how valuable their love is. This is the journey of what we call real love, true love. True love is when you could allow yourself to be transformed in the journey of coming back to your wife and children who are despaired and alone in the bottom of a hole. And it's not like you lost them. It's actually that you became everything that you needed in order to pull them out. Life isn't simple. It requires a journey. And we have a story that deeply sets us free. Now going back to the framework, there's you in a little bubble, running from things that scare you. And then there's maybe you running from things that scare you towards the thing that you love, the wife with the 2 kids in the hole. And then the other aspect of it, which is another circle, another weave tied between it, which is, wait, those things that I'm running from, what I had to face on this journey, the animal part of me that I had to tap into that reminded me, I am Jaguar Pa. That's the name of the character, was when he saw the jaguar. He was like, oh my God, I've been running from myself. And it's funny, I'm running from these guys. Actually, at the end, they're running from him. So the full story isn't that you are running from this jaguar, this tiger, this beast, and you are running towards an ideal. When you make the decision to run towards the ideal and that's what makes you run, that's when love enters the system and fear leaves. When fear leaves, you can face the animal that you are and you could integrate it towards the ideal. And then the ideal is no longer something you need to run while you're in. It's no longer a castle that you need to pace in as you look out the window to make sure it's not coming for your head. You can now experience it with peace. You could now actually bear the weight of your dream and you could experience it in its fullness. And perhaps the message that is told to you that sets you into your life. And that's for you to discover. This is the story of Apocalypto, and it was something that really helped me realize that, the one thing I've been running from my whole life is myself. And the things that I was so afraid to face, I've been facing left and right, and it's been setting me free. It's been giving me the ability to take my arm and reach it into the dark pit and to pull the love out with all the strength that I have. This time knowing I can give everything that I can to them. And I know that my words mean something, and that my love will be seen and recognized. In my life, it was very similar. You know what happened to me after I realized what I wanted to do? Fear. First thing. Ask yourself this question if you want to learn about you. Why do I not want to win? Why do I not want to love? Why do I want to continue existing in this bubble of mine? Why do I not want to grow? That'll tell you far more about you than asking yourself, why can't I get there? Remember, you set the limitations before anybody else has. And I remember I was 21. I knew what I wanted to do, and fear hit me. I saw myself speaking in front of thousands of people, and I didn't believe it. I thought I was crazy. The darkest point of my life, or I'd say the point of my life where I was nearly suicidal, the quiet misery, as they say. I had a perfect smile to slap on that misery too, so nobody would ever bear to ask. I kept having these reoccurring dreams where there was a tiger ripping my family to shreds. And I'd keep crying in the dream, going, where am I, where am I? And it would happen again and again and again. And if I closed my eyes, I'd see this tiger chasing me. And that's the funny part is it created a serious negative association to tigers. Here's the synchronicity for you. The year was 2022, the Chinese New Year, and it's the year of the tiger. I'd go out to a coffee shop. What would I see on the back of somebody's jersey? A tiger. The back of somebody's jacket? A tiger. What would my friends send me an image of? A tiger. What did I need to face? That part of me. So very similar to the story, the things that I were running from, the savage Indians I was running from, the savage Mayans I was running from. Oh, those were the things I was afraid of. The things that I told myself were hunting me, that I needed to run from. They were my traumas, they were my fears, they were my insecurities. And where did I run? Well, I kept running aimlessly. Aimlessly. What? For what? My life. Survival's sake. Well, what are you going to do, Naftali? You're making this much a month, and you start doing this, and you make nothing. Fear, 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 fear. And so often, I think a lot of people say, don't be afraid, just go with the action. No, no, no. Let the fear drive you, just this time with an ideal in mind. See what happens when you run and what it requires you to face. And once you do, take a leap of faith in that understanding being true, and that's where all your strength will be. And I'll round this off with my story. I kept having these dreams, and I didn't know what to do. So using the very similar framework I taught you earlier, which was, okay, I'm running from this tiger. And I was like, that's bad news. Am I just running? Wait, actually, I'm not just running. What's really driving me here? Well, actually, yes, I'm afraid of that, but I'm also going there. Well, what's that, Naftali? Well, that scares me as much as the thing I'm running from. And that's my potential, that's my greatness, that's who I want to be, that's what fulfills me, that's what challenges me, that's what inspires me, that's what's almost so inconceivable, I feel like an imposter saying it. And I look back at the tiger, I look back at the ideal, and I go, no, I want that. That's what animates me. Love is what drives me. I'm done running with fear. I'll run with love. See the improvement here? At first it's run with fear, then it's run with love, then it's face yourself, and then be in love with all of what you are. You are no longer chasing anything. You are. And that's the integration process. And so I remember this one time, I kept seeing this aspect of me, well, that's my dark nature, it's all the things that I wanted. And I kept pursuing the ideal, and I said, it's just not enough. If I keep running for this castle in the hills, even when I'm in the castle, no matter how far I am away from this part of me, it will still haunt me. The castle will be a mere mask. And this was something interesting. I was talking before this at an interview. And my associate, he asked me, he said, how do you experience the fullness of life? The fullness of life is experienced when you're not chasing it, but when you're interacting with what's in your life and how extraordinary it is. And I gave him the analogy. I said, how good is a sandwich when you're running with it versus when you're sitting down and eating it? What worth is the sandwich if you're constantly running while eating it? Same thing for celebrities, disproportionately depressed and a very high suicide rate. And you're probably like, well, what do most people say? It's like, well, it's fame and riches. I disagree. I think it's trying to run from the fear of death into the guise of luxury, loft, fame, and fortune, to then realize in your fame and fortune you're still running from it. And do you want to know why it's worse? Because it didn't help. If you never question the integrity of where you're coming from and what is animating you, you will forever be running in your life. Your relationship will be a manifestation of that. You will still be running from your traumas. You will still be running from your fears. Your insecurities will grab you by the balls, and you won't even be able to recognize how your ego has controlled your whole life. When you question what animates you, that's when you change your life, and you change the way by which you move through it. And that's how you really change your life. Stop running. Be. Because that's the most true thing you can. I couldn't forget this. I was so afraid. I was so afraid of everything that I'm doing now. Speaking at the lecture this morning scared the shit out of me. Well, not anymore. Used to. I knew what I wanted, I ran to. But to run to your castle and to still run from the parts of yourself you haven't faced, it isn't much of a castle, is it? That's the second part of understanding. Once I realized this, and this is what's going to change your life today, what I'm running from has been me and what I need to fulfill, that I am afraid of fulfilling because of how much it may require. And for the first time in my journey, I stopped running to the castle in the hills. My feet started to move slower and slower. I realized that what I was running from is myself. And as the tiger gains more and more yards, it comes to a halt. We face each other. And then he says, why have you been running? You're going the same place I am. Let's do it together. Because only with each other can we achieve the ideal. Now, once that happens, that's when you no longer run. You begin to realize that the ideal is within your ability to achieve it. And that is through the journey of your life. It's not just done in one day, but it's the decision that you make every day that accumulates to the rest of your life. And that sets us free. My love letter to myself was making these decisions for me. I know I love me and I have love to give others. Because nothing scared me more than the journey of love. Because the journey of love transforms all that are willing to go through with it. I made these decisions for myself because for the first time I decided to love me. I decided to be there for me. I decided to listen. I decided to establish what I was running from. I started to look at the current unideal of my life. I started to feel all of the things that sucked beyond measure. Because that is what somebody who loves another does. And I realized that to come close to the things that matter most to me and what that is going to do for me, that's what sets me free. I no longer want to be running. I want love to run me so that I can be who I am.